What's going on, people? I am dukedobbins, FTW, and almost every new game that comes out these days includes some form of these RNG, loot package microtransactions. Supply drops, battle packs, rec packs, loot boxes, loot crates. Pretty soon they're gonna start running out of cool names for a container of stuff, okay? Today I want to talk about why this is such a terrible trend in gaming, and why it's something that every responsible gamer should be pushing back against in any game. Now, a lot of the points I want to make are generally applicable to most games these days, but I wanted to use Call of Duty as the primary example, because then the video will reach the most people, and I suspect it will reach the people who most need to hear what I have to say. The people who are in desperate need of a good hard slap in the fucking face. First thing you gotta understand about these RNG loot systems is that their sole purpose, the only reason the RNG aspect exists, is to overcharge you for shit. So for example, back in the day when they first introduced microtransactions in Black Ops 2 and Call of Duty Ghosts, it was not an RNG system. You would browse what you wanted and pay a flat fee for the specific item that you specifically wanted. Now, I didn't like microtransactions back then either, but at least it was honest. Back then, the shit generally cost as much as a single supply drop does today, usually around $1.99. What this means is that if you don't get exactly what you wanted in the first supply drop you open, then as soon as you spend a dime over that, you are simply being overcharged for the exact same content and amount of content you would have gotten for much cheaper only 3 years ago. Imagine there's an ice cream truck you visit regularly. You always buy vanilla ice cream. It's your favorite flavor. It's $1.99. Then one day, the ice cream guy changes up the system. Now, for that same $1.99 price, you get to roll a dice to see what you get, and each number on the dice is a different flavor. Well, now, if you want that vanilla ice cream, chances are you're gonna have to roll the dice more than once, because statistically speaking, it's very unlikely you get it on your first roll, right? And so now, to get that same vanilla ice cream, you're usually paying double or triple the price that you used to pay when it was just a flat out, $1.99 for this vanilla ice cream. Replace the vanilla ice cream with weed camos, and I just described COD. Even worse, now in most games, you can spend real life money on this shit and get all duplicates of stuff you already have, literally getting nothing for your money. And people are still doing it. It's price gouging, which is when a seller spikes the prices of goods, services, or commodities to a level much higher than is considered reasonable or fair, and is considered exploitative, potentially to an unethical extent. That is the only purpose that the randomization serves, to scam you. It does nothing else. But the true tragedy of these RNG systems is that even when you do get that super cool weed camo you wanted, it's still going to be a letdown, because having stuff never brings us the happiness or satisfaction we think it will. There's been a lot of research done on our relationship with material wealth, right? People want to understand the economy better, businesses want to know how best to sell us stuff, what stuff like, and so in the last 40 years or so, there's been a whole lot of research on how our happiness is affected by things. The first being that material wealth rarely brings us the happiness and satisfaction we're hoping it will. Materialism is when acquiring material possessions functions as a central life goal, with the belief that possessions are the key to happiness, and that success can be judged by a person's material wealth and the quality and price of material goods she or he can buy. Why do people buy supply drops in the first place? Because they expect the purchase to provide some level of happiness or satisfaction, because they are under the impression that owning things, even virtual things in an online game, is going to make them happier. And it does, but only for the briefest period of time. You enjoy making the purchase. You're excited as you open the container and look at what you've got. Maybe you're happy as you equip whatever items you obtain. But the science tells us that this happiness and satisfaction we derive from owning new things fades very fucking fast. By the next day, you're used to having the new camo or taunt, the novelty of it has worn off, and the consumer's life satisfaction and happiness falls right back to where it was before the purchase. So what do? They go and buy another supply drop. This is why every game has the loot in some sort of container, and they always make you manually open it, right? Because instead of giving you the supply drop or box or crate or whatever, they could just give you the 4 pieces of loot, right? They could just cut straight to the chase, skip holding A and be like, here's your loot. It wouldn't change anything. But they want you to go through the process of opening the actual loot container, because this is when you are actually having the strongest emotional reaction to your purchase. You're excited and happy and dying with anticipation to see what cool shit you got. That's the peak happiness right there. And then after that, it's downhill. Your emotional response, what you feel, quickly fades back to normal. What people don't realize is that when you buy these supply drops or other RNG loot containers, what you're really paying for is the terrific experience of opening a present. And now games are having more and more elaborate opening sequences. Look at a game like H1Z1. You have to shoot the box open, right? It's just to supercharge that moment of euphoria people feel as they waste real money on the most useless, pointless shit there ever was. I mean, it's just crazy to me. And look, we're all a little materialistic. Humans are conditioned for it because to an extent, material wealth does provide happiness in the sense that its absence, aka poverty, correlates with steep declines in happiness and life satisfaction. The acquisition of things provides us comforts and securities that do make life better. But it's kind of like food. When you're hungry, eating food is going to make you happy. But once you're full, eating more food isn't going to make you more happy. Once we have our necessities met, having more stuff, and especially dumbass stuff like virtual gun camos, isn't going to make us happier or more satisfied. Instead, the research concludes that higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction require 3 things: meaningful relationships, meaningful work that you care about, and a connection to something larger than ourselves, i.e. religion, country. For this poor guy, it was the Steelers. And human beings kind of understood this, even before we had official research on this shit. It's where the age-old phrase, money can't buy happiness, comes from. People have known for ages that having a lot of stuff isn't necessarily going to make you happy if those other 3 factors I mentioned are missing. However, the research does find one exception. The one way money can literally buy happiness is when you make experience-based purchases, okay? Now, it doesn't guarantee you happiness, still don't have any friends, or something meaningful to do with your life. But if you buy a jacuzzi, you're happy when you buy the jacuzzi, you're happy when you open and set it up, excited, and then you get to be a little happy every time you sit in it from then on for years and years. There's a high return on investment of happiness for your money. Vacation. You get several days to weeks of fun and pleasure on a vacation. You feel refreshed when you return from the vacation. There's a higher return on investment. Video games are probably the all-time greatest experiential purchase. Spent $20 on H1Z1, $20 on Rocket League. I have hundreds of hours of entertainment, excitement, happiness on both those games, not to mention I made a bunch of new friends. But with, jewelry, rims on your car, new accessories, stupidly expensive clothes, or worst of all, virtual cosmetic items, these things are never going to provide you that much happiness or satisfaction. The best part will always be opening them. And in every study, people who prioritize the acquisition of material wealth consistently report lower levels of life satisfaction and happiness. Because the more time and energy people dedicate to materialism, the less time and energy they are putting into things that actually matter, like meaningful relationships or acquiring new experiences. The $20 you spent on supply drops, you should have spent on taking that girl to the movies. You should have spent it on buying a new $20 game or an expansion on a game you really like. But you spent it on the fucking virtual cosmetics so that you can see some slightly different colors in the corner of your screen while you play or some shit. My good friend Marky, he's an impulsive motherfucker, buys the crates on H1Z1 and supply drops and probably Battlepacks pretty soon here. He had this nice Thanksgiving vacation plan. Bowling, batting cages, hitting the bars. But then Thanksgiving comes around and he realizes he can't responsibly afford it anymore because he blew all his fun money on stupid virtual bullshit. And it's easy to see how so many people like Marky can be misled into thinking that buying supply drops will provide some supercharged ecstatic euphoria when you have these YouTuber shills posting an endless amount of grossly misleading supply drop opening videos. In these videos, you have guys like Tmartn and Ali A, who on a normal day seem completely coked out of their mind to begin with, but who go especially apeshit ballistic on camera over these virtual items. And let me just say real quick how classless and disqualifying it is for Activision to still be doing business with Tmartn after he got caught red-handed trying to scam kids out of money, especially considering that scam literally revolved around the same kind of loot crate opening videos that they are collaborating with him to do. They're still inviting him to the events, sending him COD points, the double XP bonuses to give away at the beginning of his videos. It's just shameful that they would still be in business with a known scammer. It says a lot, Activision. Keep it fucking classy, as always. Now, these YouTubers, when they get a legendary or an epic or whatever the fuck the name is for which items the developers arbitrarily decided should be considered rare, they freak out. They're shouting and waving their arms, wide-eyed, looking like lunatics. I would straight up be embarrassed if anyone ever saw me doing that over virtual cosmetic items. Even if it was acting, I would just never want someone to see me like that. It's just so cringy. But worse, it paints a false impression of how exciting and exhilarating opening these packs actually is. These YouTubers are, first of all, acting to try and make the video entertaining, so a lot of that excitement is just legit fake. But then also keep in mind, it's easy for these guys to actually be excited when half the time they aren't even spending their own money. We know now that Activision regularly sends free COD points to these major YouTubers to encourage them to do these free advertising videos. And on those rare occasions when they do use their own money, if that even happens anymore, they still know they're going to make all that money back, plus a profit just off of the supply drop opening video itself. So they have a whole lot to be excited about in those videos. But you don't. Everyone sees these videos, and you see these guys literally acting like they're, coming in their pants. And people think, man, that looks fucking fun. I'm gonna go drop 20 bucks on that shit so I can be as happy as they are. But those videos are fake, and your supply drop opening experience is not gonna be that great. You're not gonna be jumping up and down with excitement and euphoria, and if you do, you need to see a fucking therapist. But maybe you get some stuff you're happy with, maybe you don't and just feel really stupid. Either way, a few days later, your friends are all gonna have dropped 20 bucks on some cool looking indie game or some newly accessible backwards compatible thing like an old Halo or an old COD to relive the glory days of your crew, a new DLC for that one game you all love, and you're not gonna be able to play it with them because you spent that money on goofy ass gun camos, and you're gonna put on your goofy ass gun camos and play COD matches, and you're gonna hear all your friends in the party having so much fun, and you're gonna feel really fucking sad because weed camos can't buy happiness. For the win query of the day is, what is the dumbest thing you ever spent money on? Thanks for watching. Please remember to rate. This is Batman signing out.